Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much to my twin Brandon for that incredible introduction. Thank you so much, Mark and Emily and Julie, for your friendship and your solidarity. And good evening, HRC. I gotta tell you, it is balm for the soul to be with family tonight. With literal family, my parents, Sally and Dave, and my brother Sean and his husband Blake. Yes, our parents were blessed with 2 LGBTQ kids. They're here tonight. And it's great to be here with my HRC family. In so many ways, it has been these 2 families, alongside the people of the great state of Delaware, that allow me to stand before you tonight as both an out transgender woman and as a member of the United States House of Representatives. Love you too. Thank you, Mom. And while it is the professional privilege of my life, I wish I had entered a very different Congress than the one I am in. Because I don't have to tell you all, HRC, that in this moment, so much is on the line. They're infringing on free speech, cutting and banning care, invading the privacy of patients and families. And in perhaps one of the most appalling actions toward our community, President Bone Spurs fired thousands of brave and qualified transgender service members, discharging people who had put their lives on the line for this country. It's why earlier this week I introduced an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act to reverse that ban. And it's why I would like every single transgender service member and veteran who is here tonight to stand up and get the respect that you are due. Please stand up. Thank you for your service. Now, despite some who claim that our allies are throwing trans people under the bus, I'm proud to say that votes tell a very different story. Because of HRC, because of my colleagues on this stage and so many others on Capitol Hill, House and Senate Democrats have maintained near unanimous opposition to attacks on our community. And we have scored together some critical victories, preventing the passage of blanket bans in educational programs for trans youth, and getting the ban on Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming care for all ages stripped from that big, ugly bill. But we also know that those who oppose equality aren't letting up. As a trans person, I am scared. I know millions like me are scared about where this could end for all of us. After years of court packing, we cannot completely rely on the Supreme Court. When it comes to the Congress and the White House, well, the call is coming from inside the House. That leaves public opinion as our last line of defense. And the hard truth is that they will only stop when it's no longer politically advantageous to attack us, when we effectively change public opinion. We can bemoan that the rights of a minority should never depend on polling, and they shouldn't. But short of 5 reliable votes on the Supreme Court, 218 votes in the House, 51 votes in the Senate, or 270 in the Electoral College, moving the public is our best and only hope. The lesson from both our progress and our current challenge is that when the public is with us, nothing is impossible. But without it, nothing is truly sustainable. Changing hearts and minds, it isn't easy. but it is possible. The wedding rings on so many fingers in this room tonight reflect that truth. 20 years ago this year, in the shadow of marriage bans passing across the country and amidst commentators questioning whether the rights of people in our community cost us the last election, amidst all of that, this movement and this community had a choice. Do we turn inward? Do we reject and write off the Americans who had just overwhelmingly voted in red states and blue states alike against marriage equality? Do we fall prey to an understandable anger and bitterness? Instead, we chose a different path. Led by organizations like HRC and so many of you in this room, we rejected the short-term comfort of preaching to our own choir and instead found the courage to grow our congregation. We used the ruthless survival skills of an LGBTQ kid in Florida or South Dakota who does not have the luxury of prioritizing purity and perfection over goodwill and good intentions. We met people where they were. We welcomed imperfect allies. We created room for people to grow, not through shunning or shaming, but with space and grace. And because of that strategic courage and disciplined perseverance, we transformed public opinion. We won elections. We started to pass marriage equality in state legislatures and at the ballot box. And within 10 years, the promise of equal dignity under our Constitution became a reality for same-sex couples in every corner of this country. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't fair. But it was worth it, because we are worth it. And look, I'm not naive to the challenges that we face. I know this moment feels different. I know that when we turn on cable news or open social media, it can feel like we are so divided that persuasion is pointless. We've been pushed through the mobility of our lives and the technology that we live on into silos and echo chambers. The few examples we see outside our own side are often the outrageous examples that go viral. But I'm here to tell you that while the media we consume can impact the reality we live in, it's not representative of it. And one of the blessings of serving in elected office is that I'm forced out of my comfort zones and out of my safe spaces. 42% of my constituents voted for Donald Trump. My district is urban, suburban, and rural. I represent people in red areas and blue areas. And I am here to tell you that while real disagreements exist, and while our politics can bring out the worst in everyone, we are not as divided as the algorithms make it seem. Most people are decent and kind, and we can tap their better angels if we allow ourselves to see them. If we're courageous enough to foster the closeness that made our progress possible as a community and as a country. For it has been the power of our proximity that we found our superpower as LGBTQ people. We exist in families and communities across every region and race, across every income and ideology, through conversations with friends and family members, coworkers and classmates, through conversations across difference and disagreement, hard, difficult, unfair conversations. We opened hearts and we changed minds. By being near one another, we could hear one another. By being close to each other, we were able to find compassion for one another. Today, for all of the challenges that we face, we still have that superpower if we choose to exercise it. And I know that HRC chooses to exercise that superpower now more than ever. Because that is the question before all of us, before our nation right now. At this moment of choosing for our country, we must once again decide whether we will turn inward or reach outward. Whether we will choose grace over grievance, whether we will give up and write off our fellow citizens, or whether we're willing to summon a hope in our shared humanity. We have to decide in this moment whether we truly believe in democracy, not as a talking point, not as an abstraction, not only when things are going well for us, whether we genuinely believe in it. Because democracy can only exist if we maintain our faith in people's capacity to change. And HRC, we have 250 years of evidence that change is possible. I think about it every single time I walk onto the floor of the House of Representatives, the place where the 13th Amendment and the 14th Amendment were passed, the space where women got the right to vote, where Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid were created, where the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act and the Respect for Marriage were passed. The history is heavy in the air, and I am reminded each and every time I'm there of the enduring ingredients that made all of that progress possible. That the answer to hate is not more hate, that love invites people in, that joy grows our ranks, and that hope, infectious and inviting hope, is the only way forward. Thank you all very much, HRC. It's a privilege to be with you tonight, and it's an honor to be with you in this fight. Thank you all.